Hi everyone, this is the continuation of my discussion. So let's start from Module 3, Lesson 3.1 about Security Guard Forces. So Security Guard Forces is a group of 4 selected men trained or grouped into functional unit for the purpose of protecting operational processes from those disruption which would impede efficiency or halt operation at a particular plant, facility, installation, or special activity. So, kaning security guard forces, kay mao ni sila ang mga selected men na gina-train jud sila para if ever na ay mga operational situation kanang mas madepensahan nila ang ilahang kuan ang mga tao na ilahang ginabantayan. RA 5487 provided for the organization and management of security guard forces designed for specific organizations and purposes. The 3 security guard forces are the following. First is Private Security Agency or PSA. It refers to any person, association, partnership, firm, or private corporation who contracts, recruits, trains, or furnishes or posts any security guard to do its functions or solicit individuals, business firms, or private, public, or government-owned or controlled corporation to engage his or its service or those of his or its security guards for hire, commission, or compensation. So, kaning PSA, kay mao ni sila ang mga kanang mga nagahatag ay isa ka agency nga nagahatag og service sa mga kanang company nga nangailangan og private security. Next is Company Security Force or CSF. It is a security force maintained and operated by any private company or corporation for its own security requirements only. Next is Government Security Unit or GSU. It is a security unit maintained and operated by any government entity other than military and a police, which is established and maintained for the purpose of securing the office or compound and or extension of such government entity. So, kaning government security unit, kay mao ni sila ang mga security na kanang maintain nila ang the safety of government office. So, next is letter B. The Philippine Association of Detective and Protective Agency Operators, INC or PADPAO. This is the National Association of all licensed security agencies and company security forces. This was established as early as 1958 purposely for the self-regulation of all security agency. So, kaning PADPAO, kay mao ning kaning agency sa mga licensed security o kanang mga company forces. Then, na-establish ni siya katong 1958. Next, letter C, License to Operate or LTO. LTO is the document issued by the CPNP or his duly authorized representative authorizing a person to engage in the occupation, calling, or employment as security guard or detectives or juridical persons to establish, engage, direct, manage, or operate an individual or a private detective agency or private security agency or company security force after payment of the prescribed dues or fees. First is application of license. New applicants for PSA license shall obtain a minimum capitalization of 1 million only and a minimum bank deposit of 500,000. Where to file? To the office of the CPN through the CPN Social or SAGSD using form SAGSD form 01294 and SAGSD form of 02294 respectively. And the third is application form for license to operate. The applicant shall be contain a full name of applicant and his age, civil status, and residence and location of his business. In case of corporation, association, or partnership, copies of the following shall be appended. First, certificate of registration with the SEC and bylaws and articles of incorporation. Number 4, endorsement of application. It shall be endorsed by the CSF district office found in their respective regions and in the name of the regional director. And 5th is license to operate. It shall be requirement prior to engage in the occupation, calling, or employment, or engage in the business of PSA or PDA. Then 6 is graduated scale of license to operate. The following graduated scale shall be approved by the CPNP or his duly authorized representative. First is PSAs with temporary LTO having 200 or more but not exceeding 1,000 shall be issued a regular LTO good for 2 years. And letter B, new PSA shall be issued a temporary LTO good for 1 year. And letter C, PSA will temporary LTO having posted 100 guards or more but less than 200 shall upon expiration of such LTO shall be issued an extension period. Not extension shall be granted unless the PSA shall submit a certificate for additional 50 guards posted for 150 guards total. So letter D is PSA with temporary LTOs upon expiration still fail to comply with the 200 guards requirement shall be granted another 6 months period. However, failure to comply shall serve a basis for the issuance of cease to operate order. Letter A, LTO or PSA with less than 100 guards after one year shall not be renewed. Then letter F, PSA with concealed or revoked LTO shall cease to operate within 7 days after having been duly notified of such cease to operate order shall immediately deposit all its firearms with the FEO or FED or to the nearest CSFD office for eventual turnover to the CSFC HQ. Attain C, FEO or FED frame QZ. Thereafter, the CSFC district concerned shall conduct an inventory to surrendered firearms which shall be received, copy, furnish, CPNP, social SAGSD. Otherwise, the PSA concerned shall be liable under PD 1966 or RA 8249. Next is organization and management. So first, who may organize and maintain a PSA and private detective agency or PDA, any Filipino citizen or corporation, association, partnership 100% owned and controlled by Filipino citizens. So diri kay murag ang katong mga security guard, diba, required man jud sila first ang dapat Filipino citizen, so dapat ang mag-handle pud sa ila ha kay kanang Filipino Japon dili pwede nang mga naay kanang taga gawas. Then second, basic requirement of an operator or manager of agency. First, kani Filipino citizen and at least 25 years old and college graduate and or a commission officer in active service or retired from AFP or PNP or graduate or taken course in a concept and methods in industrial security and security management and must have an adequate training or experience in the security business. Then good moral character, not having been convicted or any crime involving moral turpitude. So dapat good character, wala kay wala kay record, wala kay na agikuhan nga. Then not suffering any of the following disqualifications. So first is dishonorably discharged from AFP or PNP or separated for cause from any government entity or government-owned or controlled corporations. Then second, being mentally incompetent Second is being mentally incompetent. And third, being physically unfit. So, dapat physically fit ka. Then, fourth, addicted to the use of narcotic and or prohibited drugs and or substances. So, dapat hindi ka ma-involve ng mga drugs, kaya ma-disqualified ka. Then, ang fifth, kay habitual drunkard and alcoholic. So, iwas po dapat ka sa mga ka ng inom-inom. Then, sixth, dummy of any foreigner. And seven is elective or appointive government officials and employees who may be called upon on account of the functions of their respective office in the implementation and enforcement of the provision of RA 5487 and any person related to such government employees by affinity or consanguinity in the third civil degree shall not hold any interest directly or indirectly in a security guard or watchman agency on account of the functions on their respective office in the implementation and enforcement of RA 5487. Third is organizational structure of PSA, CSF, or GSU. Letter A, PSA shall conform with the organizational structure, personnel, equipment, training, and clothing as provided for in RA 5487 as amended and shall comply with the following. First one is 100 guard shall be contracted during the first year of operation, and second is minimum of 200 guards for the succeeding year. Letter B, CSF shall be organized and conform substantially to the organizational structure prescribed for the private security agencies. And letter C, GSU shall be organized to conform with the organizational structure of the said government firm but not contrary to the organizational structure as prescribed for GSUs. Number 4, establishment of main or branch office. So, letter A, all agencies shall maintain a main office in their registered addresses. Then, so, tanan mga agency, kay na na sila yung mga main office na naka-register na ang ilahang address. Then, letter B, branch office, at least initial 10 guards during the first year of operation. Letter C, until the 30 minimum guards in the third year of the operation. Then letter D, that branch office shall registered with the CSFC district and regional PADPAW or if any. Then fifth, security service contract. PSA shall render a security services to their clients only after a service contract duly notarized shall have been executed between them. Such a contract stipulates letter A, money consideration to paid by the client to the PSA. Then letter B, number of hours of services per guard per day and the guard salary to be received from the agency. Then number 6, tenure of security personnel. It shall be coterminous with the service contract between the PSA and the client. Grounds for termination of the guard services. So letter A, expiration of contract. Then letter B, revocation of license to exercise profession. Letter C, conviction of the crime involving moral turpitude. Letter D, loss of trust and confidence. Letter E, physical and mentally disability. And letter F, any other violation of the pertinent rules and regulation of RA 5487. The number 7, payrolls. Payrolls of PSA, CSF, and GSU should follow the following. So, letter A, name of the security guard, arranged alphabetically and numbered consecutively, which shall be signed personally by the payees only after the receipt of the amount indicated therein. So, sa list sa mga names sa security guard, kaya naka-arrange na siya alphabetically order. Then letter B, separate payrolls for distant detachment posts shall be prepared. Letter C, payroll shall be filed with the main office within 15 days after the payday. Then letter D, it shall be in accordance with the standard format as provided for by law. Now, let's proceed to lesson 3.2, or talks about security personnel qualifications, firearms, and equipment. So, first concept, definition of terminologies. So, first is a person. This includes not only a natural but also juridical person such as a single proprietorship, partnership, corporation, companies, or association duly organized and registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and or the Department of Trade and Industry. And second, the security guard, also known as a private security guard or watchman, shall be include any person who offers to renders personal services to watch or secure either a residence or business establishment or both or buildings, compounds, or areas for hire or contention as an employee thereof, including any employee of the national or local governments or agencies or instrumentalities therefore either of and or government buildings, compounds, premises, and other properties other than members of the AFP, BGMP, PNP, or any other law enforcement agency of the government. So, kaning security guard, also known as a private security guard. So, mo ni sila ang nagabantay sa mga establishment para maprotektahan. Then, number 3, private detectives refers to any person who does detective work for hire, reward, or commission other than members of the AFP, BGMP, provincial guards, PNP, or any law enforcement agencies of the government. Then, number 4, license to exercise profession of license certificate. So, the document issued by the CPNP or is duly authorized representative recognizing a person to be qualified to perform his duties as security guard or detective. So, letter B is a qualification of security guard and security officer. So, basic requisite for security guard: no person shall be licensed as security guard unless he possess the following qualifications. So, first, Filipino citizen and high school graduate, physical and mentally fit, and at least 18 years old but not more than 50 years old, and has undergone freelancing training course and must not possess any of the disqualifications. So, next, number 2, desirable qualities of security guards. In addition to the minimum qualification, security guard must also possess the following. First is alertness. A good guard must be alert in spotting violators. This can be attained by watchful and dedicated and diligent. So, as a security guard, so dapat alerto ka perme. Then, letter B, judgment. Sound and good judgment is more than the use of common sense. It is arriving at a wise and timely decision. So as a security guard, so dapat ka kanang nakay common sense. Kung sa imong trabaho, kabalo na ka, dili na ka magpa-remind pa. Then, kung mag-duty pod ka, dapat ka kanang before sa call time, nana ka sa imong sa imong gidutihan. Dapat mag-una ka dito. Then, next is confidence. It is the state of being sure, a state of mind free from doubt or misgivings. This attribute includes faith in oneself and in his abilities, which is attained by job knowledge and proper training plus good supervision instills confidence. So, as a security guard, dapat na kay confidence nga dili ka maulaw makipag-alubilo sa tao. Then, as usual, letter D, physically fitness. Security work is strenuous and demanding. Physical conditioning is essential if he is to be a dependable guard. Then, letter E, tactfulness, ability to deal with others successfully without offending. In short, he can be firm but pleasant. So, dapat kung makipag-communicate kag tao, dapat friendly ka guard, dili ka naka-istorya nga maka-offend sa ila ba. Then, letter F, self-controlled, ability to take hold of oneself regardless of provoking situation. Then letter G, interest, loyalty, responsible, and trustworthy is also important attributes of reliable guard. So as a reliable guard, dapat kanang faithful ka, loyal, then kanang responsible ka sa imong trabaho ug masaligan. Number 3, exemptions from licensing. The following need not undergo pre-licensing training for security guards. Letter A, veterans and retired or honorable discharged military or police personnel possessing all the qualification mentioned in the preceding section. Then letter B, ROTC advanced basic graduates and or its equivalent of the AFP or PNP or CAFGO or CHDF. So, number 4, qualifications of a private detective. No person shall license as a private detective unless he possesses of any of the following disqualifications. So, letter A, holder of baccalaureate degree or Bachelor of Laws, or letter B, BS Criminology graduate or graduate of Criminal Investigation course offered then TC or INP or the PNP or the NBI or any police training school or detective training with the authorized or recognized training center for the security guard, or letter D, advanced reserve officers training course or citizens of military training ROTC or CMT graduates, so graduate kag ROTC. Then number 5, qualifications for security officer. No person shall be licensed as security officer unless he has the following qualifications. So, balik-balik na lang niya siya. Kuan siya, Filipino citizen, holder of baccalaureate degree, physically and mentally fit, and as a graduate from a security officer training course, then retired personnel of the PNP or AFP, and must not possess any of the disqualification enumerated in Section 2, Rule 2. Then, number 6, qualifications of security consultant. No person shall be licensed as security consultant unless, in addition to those prescribed in Section 5, this rule possesses any of the following. So, letter A, holder of master degree in either criminology, public administration, MNSA, industrial administration, or law, or must have at least 10 years experience in the operation and management of security business. Then, number 7, other exemptions. Any officers or enlisted man of the AFP or a uniform member of the PNP honorably discharged or separated or retired from the service are exempted from the requirements. In letter C, use of firearms and equipment. So first is possession of firearms or FA by PSA. After complying all the requirements, PSA are entitled to possess firearms of any of the following. So first is shotguns, not higher than 12 gauge. Then letter B, low power rifle or revolvers caliber 22. And letter C, caliber 38 pistols or revolvers not exceeding 1 or firearms for every 2 security guard in its employ. Then letter D, minimum numbers of firearms. So first is PSA with 100 guards, at least 30 pieces of licensed firearms. However, after operating 6 months, the PSA can procure firearms in proportion to the number of posted guards. Then number 2, for regular license to operate or LTO application, at least 70 pieces of firearms. Then number 3, use of firearms for private detective agencies shall be optional. Then number 2, restriction to possess certain caliber of firearm. The total number of prescribed high-powered firearms shall not exceed 10% of the total numbers of guards employed. Private security agency are not allowed to possess higher caliber guns or firearms such as carbine M16 caliber 45, center firearm Magnum caliber 41 and 44, and the higher caliber firearms except when such private PSA or CSF is operating in areas where there is an upsurge of lawlessness and criminality. So letter A, position of the high-powered firearms shall be at expense of the PSA or CSF concerned. Letter B, before the firearms are issued, the same should be registered with the PNP or FED. And letter C, the security personnel who will use such firearms shall first given adequate training in the care and the use of thereof, which will under the supervision of qualified officers and men of the PNP. So, katong mga security personnel nga nagamit og firearms, kailangan pa na sila tudluan or iting para saon paggamit sa sa firearms. Then number 3, limitations in the carrying of firearms. The issued firearms shall be carried only by the security guards or SG. So, A, during his tour of duty, when proper uniform within the compound of the establishment where he is assigned, and except when he is escorting big amount of cash and valuables and upon prior condition with the nearest PNP unit station. So during sa iyang duty, proper uniform, when he is escorting a big amount cash, so dapat na po siya firearms. Ay limit lang dapat ang firearms na ginadala. The number 4, duly detailed order or DDO, private security agencies or company security forces dealing a security personnel on the duties under the circumstances mentioned in the preceding section or while escorting big amount of cash or valuable outside of its jurisdiction of area its operation shall issue appropriate DDO using a SAGST form of number 12 to 94. Number 5, confiscation of firearms. Firearms could be confiscated when it is about the use is commission of crime. So, kung igamit nimo ang firearms sa krimen, kay ma-confiscate na siya. Then, actually being used in a commission of crime. Then, he has been used in the commission of crime. Kung gigamit po nimo siya, then it is carried by the security guard is unlicensed or not authorized by law and regulation for his use. So, kung gigamit nimo nga wala pa kay lisensya, may lisensyado ang imuhang firearms, pwede na siya ma-confiscate. Then, use of or carried outside the AOR of the security guard without proper authority or the security guard is unlicensed. Kung ang security guard po dili lisensyado, pwede po na siya confiscaw ng iyang baril. Then, number 6, disposition of confiscation firearms. So, the law enforcement officers who confiscated the firearms shall be informed the CPNP through CSG without 24 hours after such confiscation. So, after sa confiscation, so din na nila sa CPNP kanang i-inform na nila nga gi-confiscate nila ni o giingon po na nila unsay rason. So, the firearm shall be turned over immediately to the nearest PNP unit station who shall immediately turn over the same to the CSG district office. So, wala pa 24 hours. Dapat na naka-report na dito. Then, when the confiscation is by order of the court, the same shall be turned over to the court concerned. Then, number 7, filing of application. It shall be filed with the FED through SAGSD and CSG district office for regions outside NCR is accordance with the firearms laws and implementing executive orders and regulations. In addition, the following shall be submitted. So, letter A, duly approved LTO. Then, letter B is certification of safety bolt ownership or prescribed by the Chief or Firearms and Explosive Division of CFED. Then, letter C, 40 pesos short band paper firearm to be surety bond per firearm to be deposit through the PNB, and a firearm certificate of deposit shall be secured pursuant to Section 887 of the Revised Administration Code or RAC, and letter D, sworn statement of the manager or operator of the agency that is security personnel shall required by the management of to undertake the following in the case of impending the actual strike. So, number 1, to report to exercise necessary diligence in the collection number 1, to report the CPNP or nearest police station such as impending strike. Number 2, to exercise necessary diligence to the collection and safekeeping of firearms to include safety bolts to prevent the use of firearms in the furtherance of the strike. Number 3, to ensure that all firearms and ammunitions in the possession of all striking security personnel of the agency are immediately collected and in security in the safety vaults under the control of the agency. And number 4, to assume the responsibility in the proper handling of firearms in order to prevent misuse of same, or that no non-members shall be allowed to hold said firearms issued in license as is in favor of the agency. So wala lain members na pagunit ang firearms, so dapat katulang yung mga mga authorized person. So number 8, revocation of license to possess firearms. So reasons of revocation is first is failure to submit any issue of firearms for verification as required by section 897 of RAC. So kung mag-fail ka o pag-submit sa imong dili mo magsitaw. So kung matagak og kanang illegal imong baril, kay wala man siya naka verify. The letter B, carrying of firearms by security personnel without appropriate DDO. Then letter C, when its serial number is duplicated or using the serial number for more than one firearm. So kung imong serial number kadubli-dubli gani og gamit sa lain na lain nga baril pod gigamit nimo imong serial number sa tay nakay kaduhang baril mo naging ana wala nimo pagig proper na registration. Then letter D, carrying of firearms outside the place stated in the permit as required by EO and carrying firearms in places prohibited under the law. So tanan firearm na dyan na siya kanang mga so example is as a security guard, dapat ang imong firearm is gamiton lang na nimo sa kanang kuntay na ay emergency or nga situation sa inyong establishment dili kay gamiton nimo siya sa dili maayo nga like kanang panghulga nga Then number 7, filing of application. It shall be filed with the FED through the SAGSD and CSG district office for regions outside of NCR is accordance with the firearms laws and implementing executive orders and regulations. To addition, the following shall be submitted. So now let's proceed to lesson 3.4. It talks about ranks, position, staffing pattern, and job description. So first is rank and position. So the organization of private security agencies, company, guard forces, and government security units are patterned from the organizational structures of the PNP and the AFP. Hence, security officers and personnel too are distinguished by means of ranks and positions. So the rank and positions described in the lesson are in the accordance with the section 1 rule 7 of RA 5487. It is mandated that the security agency operator or owner must observe the required major ranks and position in the organization of the agency. So tanan agency na dyan na sila mga rank and position from higher to lower na mga number 1, security management staff. So first, security director or SD, agency manager, chief security officer. Then letter B, security executive director or SED or assistant agency manager, assistant chief security officer. Then letter C, security staff director or SSD, staff director for operation and staff director for administration. Then number 2, line leadership staff. So letter A, so security supervisor. 3 is detachment commanders. Then letter B, security supervisor. 2 is chief inspector. Then ang security supervisor 1 is inspector. Then number 2, security guard. So security guard 1 or watchman or guard. Then security guard 2 is shift in charge. Then security guard 3 is post in charge. Then number 4, security consultant is optional but must possess all qualifications listed in section 6 rule 3 of RA 5487. Then staffing and job description. The structure of the PSA or CSF, and GSU also follows a vertical line staff model. The pattern of staffing and their respective job description are based on Section 2 Rule 7 RA 5487. So sa then ito din. Number 1, security management staff. There are agency manager or chief security officer. He is responsible for the entire operation and administration management of the security agency. Then ang assistant agency manager assists the agency manager and takes the operational and administrative management when the manager is absent. Kung absent tong manager, siya ang upuli. Then security staff director for operation, the staff assistant for the efficient operation of the agency. Then letter D, security staff director for administration. He is the assistant for the effective and efficient administration and the management of the agency. Then number 2, line leadership staff. So letter A, the detachment commander. Letter B, the chief inspector. Then letter C, the security inspector. Then number 3, security guard. Security guard 3 are the post in charge responsible for the entire detailed security office personnel within the certain establishment. And security guard 2 is the chief in charge is responsible for the security officers who are scheduled in a certain shift for a particular period. Then letter C, security guard 1 or the security guard, watchman or guard, the one actually posted as watchman or guard. Then letter C, specific duties and responsibilities. So number 1, office of the general manager and security director. So it is vested the authority and responsible of running the security forces by authority of the president of the company or corporation. He is directly responsible to the president of the company corporation in the operation and the administration of security forces. Then he is the principal advisor to the president in matters involving security operations, administrations of the security forces. Then he is the overall head of both various staff departments and field units where he may be delegate corresponding authority commensurate to their assigned responsibility, and he implements policies promulgated by the policy making body and executed by the president. And he is direct control and supervises all of his office and field units of the force in their respective assigned tasks. Then last is he perform other functions as direct by the president of the company corporation. So number 2, office of the executive secretary of the general manager. Letter A, he is the principal administrative assistant to the general manager or security director. Letter B, he prepares communications initiated by the general manager or security director. Letter C, maintain records of scheduled conference, appointments, and other engagement, and advises the GM or SD of such activities. Letter D, records and check outgoing communication signed by the GM and SD as to its completeness, attachment to be considered, as well as to ensure the timely dispatch to the address through the administrative section. Letter E, to perform other duties as directed by General Manager or GM Security Director or SD. 3, office of the Assistant General Manager or Security Executive Director. He takes the operational and administrative management of the security force. In the absence of the GM or SD, he is directly responsible to the GM and SD. He performs other duties as directed by GM and SD. Number 4, office of the Human Resources and Administrative Manager or Staff Director for Personnel and Administration. He is the principal staff assistant to the general manager or security director for planning and supervising matters of activities pertaining to personnel management and miscellaneous administrative functions such as personal strength, replacement, discipline, law and order, moral and personal service, personal procedures and interior management and personal advisor. Number 5, Office of the Operation Manager or Staff Director for the Operation. This office is principal staff on operation, training, intelligence, and investigation. Number 6, Office of the Finance. This office is principally concerned with the budgeting, finance reports, control, and program review and analysis. Renders advice, assistance, and guidance to the GM or SD or financial management. Specific duties and functions of the finance office are: first, accounting, credit and collection, bookkeeping, billing, payroll, or disbursing. Then number 7, Office of the Logistic Manager. This office coordinates, plan, and supervise the implementation of directive and guidance, determines divisional responsibility, and evaluates in logistical planning and related planning programs. Letter B, develop, administers, and coordinates research and development and logistical matters. And letter C, collects and computes statistical data on logistical matters. Letter D, recommends logistic budget policy including budget planning. Letter A, prepares estimate and or requirements to ensure that logical plans support for corporate plans. And letter F, performs necessary program and fiscal administration. And G, supervise all matters pertaining to supply. And H, determine the organization allocations, service personnel. And letter I, plans for maintenance and repair of supplies and equipment. Number 8, Office of the Inspectorate and Special Project Special Staff. This office assists the general manager in inquiring into and reports upon matters pertaining to the performance of the different staff units towards inquiries on the state of discipline, efficiency, and economy of the company. Letter B, the Inspectorate staff conducts inspections, investigations, and submits reports to the general manager. And C, this office is also tasked to conduct overt and covert inspection and investigation and other related services. Then number 9, Office of the Communication Officer. The communication officer, who is a licensed radio operator, is a principal advisor in the general manager and communication on matters pertaining to the radio communication. Number 10, the detachment commander or office in charge. Detachment commander shall command and responsible for a certain detachment with 15 or more security personnel under him. He is directly responsible to the security manager of the installation. Number 11, assistance detachment commander or ADC. Detachment with more than 20 security personnel assigned may be provided with an assistant detachment commander, who will be the principal assistant of the detachment commander. Letter B, in the absence of the detachment commander, he performs the duties of the detachment commander. Number 12, chief in charge or ISIC. The chief in charge shall be responsible to the detachment commander as far as his shift is concerned. And number 13, security guard of duty or post. The security guard on duty post must always carry his license to practice his profession, Xerox copy of firearms license assigned to him, and his duty detail order authorizing him to carry his issued firearm within his area of jurisdiction. So kung ang isa ka security guard kay nag-ano kanang on duty siya, dapat na bitbit na niya iyang, syempre bitbit man na siya og bitbit niya ay dapat ang iyahang license at least man lang kanang naka-Xerox copy. Then if the security guard is manning a fixed post, especially in trans or exit point, he must maintain a guard's logbook and enters the same logbook all events, passages of VIP vehicles, and inspection visits or security manager, director of client firm. So dili kay ang katong fixed post nga security guard, meaning sa fixed post kanang diha lang siya nga area kung sa entrance lang siya naka-assign, dapat naka-logbook dira tanan ang kanang musulod ang establishment o kanang naman na sila yung mga dalang sakyanan, dapat naka-ano pud na siya, naka-record pud na siya. Then guard must observe and apply religiously by the provisions of the code, ethics, code of conduct, and general orders of the security guard when on post, and he may perform special tasks as may be directed by his shift supervisor or DC, and or DC, like controls of the visitors, inspection of bags, all persons coming in and going on the establishment vehicle, prevents intrusion of an authorized person in a particular area. So, dapat kung naka-perform na siya sa iyang task, naka-duty na siya, dapat gina-check na niya bawat kanang dala sa kanang mga tao nga ma-enter ang establishment. Then, powers and functions. Security guards have the following powers and duties. First is territorial power. Perform duties within the firm or establishment with whom he or his agency has a contract for security services, and shall not go beyond the property of compound except first when required by the clientele is accordance with the terms of their contract to escort big sums of the money of valuables, or in some cases in hot pursuit of criminal offenders. Second is arrest by security guard. He is not a peace officer and is not therefore clothed with police authority. However, he may effect arrest under any of the following. First is when the person to be arrested is actually committing or is about to commit or offense in presence. Letter B, when an offense has in fact been committed and he has a reasonable ground or personal knowledge to believe that the person to be arrested has committed it, or when the person to be arrested is a prisoner who has escaped from penal establishment or place where he is serving the final judgment and temporary confined while his case is pending as escape while being transferred from the confinement to another. So, as a security guard, kung naa kay mapansin na kaning tawana is nakakommit ni siya og crime, tas or kung kani siya murag nitakas lang ni siya sa dati ay prisoner ni siya tas nitakas, pwede nakay nakay right na para mo arrest ang tao maski pag walay warrant of arrest Then method of arrest, the watchman or security guard for private detective shall inform the person to be arrested of the intention to arrest him or cause of the arrest unless the person to be arrested is previously stated or when the giving of such information is imperil to arrest. So, bago nimo siya dakpon, kailangan sa nimo siya i-inform na inani kung tayo kung makitaan murag dili kay basta-basta na lang nimo siya kung anong dayon murag harbaton gani dayon dapat ingnon sa nimo siya nga ikaw murag nakay gi-against di ba law, so dapat anong riman ka karon nga wala pa man nimo to na murag nabayaran gani na na crime mo na dapat inform sa nimo siya bago nimo siya dakpon Then number 4, a duty of security guard making arrest. He shall immediately turn over the person arrested to the nearest peace officer or police outposts or headquarters for custody and appropriate action, or he may without delay and within the time prescribed Article 125 of the RPC. So katoy mo hanggi katong gi-arrest nimo nga na person, dapat nimo to siya, i-turn over nimo to siya sa mga duol gani nga police station para sila na ang maghatag og custody. Then number 5, search without warrant. Any security guard may first indicate incident to the arrest, search the person in the presence of at least 2 witnesses. So kung naay duha ka witnesses na nakaano jud sila ba na jud nila nga siya jud nagbuhat, so pwede nimo siya pwede nimo siya arrest. Then also search the person, firm, or establishment with which search is required by the very nature of the business of the client. So murag kumbaga kung ningnay mo ingon sa imuha na kani nga balaya kay nani siya mga kabalaghan gani nga ginabuhat like kanang nagaano ni sila droga, so murag na kay rights ba nga kanang i-search nimo na nga area mas kanang wala without wala na warrant of wala na dala warrant, murag kaning mag-base na lang taani sa kaning duha ka witness Then number 6, general scope of detective work. Private detective shall operate on a covert type of mission on the specific confidential order issued by agency. The nature of his mission may be depend on the contract between the client and the detective agency. It shall include personal security investigation or background investigation, then locating missing persons, surveillance work, and other detective work as may become the subject matter of the contract between the agency and its client, provided it's not contrary to the law, public order, public policy, and moral and good custom. So number 7 is general order similar to AFP, PNP, or GOs. So ang general orders murag parihara na siya sa AFP o PNP o GOs. Number 8, duty to assist law enforcers. Any security shall be bound to assist any peace officer in pursuit of his bonding duty with requested, provided it within the territorial jurisdiction of security guard areas of duty. So kung nahitabo nga krimen sa imuhang establishment, murag ikaw gud ang mag-assist sa mag-assist ka sa sa mga police officer nga niadto atong area ha. Murag ikaw ang nakay-right sana na mag-assist. Then